What's up, everybody? Welcome to News, Games, and More, IGN's daily live news discussion show. I'm Damon Hatfield, and I will be your guide for today, Monday, November 30th. And joining me today are Sydney Goodman, host of IGN's Daily Fix.
Hi.
Jonathan Dornbush, he the host of IGN's PlayStation podcast, Podcast Beyond.
Beyond, hello there.
And Destin Legary, I'm actually not sure what he does here. But Destin, thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks, I guess. Wow.
Just kidding, everybody. Destin's like the hardest working person out of all of us right now. And he had a very busy day, but he thankfully took time out of his busy day to join us here on this show. It's what we call in the industry as a slow news day. But we're going to see if we can talk about the news of the day for about 22 minutes. But let's begin. It was a long weekend here for us in the U.S., holiday weekend. We always start off the Monday show sharing what we played over the weekend. We had a couple extra days to play games, so hopefully we got some good gaming time in. Sydney, did you play any video games over your long weekend?
Can you guess what I played?
I bet you played Call of Duty.
Yeah, I played Call of Duty. They had Nuketown 247.
Oof.
And I'm still so bad at this game. I do not understand what's happening. I'm like naturally a very good Call of Duty player, and my dad like outscores me in this game, which like I just don't know what's going on. But it was really nice because when we go to my parents, and don't worry, we all got COVID tested before and after we went to see my parents, nice
Smart.
and safe. And my dad has a setup where it's like 3 monitors and then his monitor at the top. And so me, my brother, and my husband and my dad all played, which was really fun. But I remain very bad at Black Ops Cold War. Don't know why.
Well, is there like a specific mode that you're always playing?
Well, this weekend, so they actually had a playlist for Nuketown. And I think Nuketown is only sticking around till sometime in December. And then it'll probably come back. But the playlist is just, I think it's Domination, Hardpoint, Kill Confirmed, and Deathmatch. At least that's what we were getting served. And it was double XP and guns. So it was
Double
great.
guns?
I leveled up
Double guns.
No, double XP and double XP for your guns. So it was great because I leveled up a bunch of guns.
Nice. Are you playing on Xbox Series X?
I am, yes. And if anybody wants to tweet at me and tell me how to fix my like headset problem, still having headset issues. Don't know what's going on with next gen headsets and Astros and trying to get your Discord to work, like your Discord on PC to work with your next gen console. But It's been, oh my gosh, headache.
Destin, is it true? I've heard Call of Duty is one of the games that's performing better on PS5 than on Xbox Series X.
Yeah, so I've been slowly plugging away at doing the comparative analysis we're going to be doing for PS5 versus Xbox. And largely, I played through the campaign almost to the end on PS5, and I played through the campaign almost to the end on Xbox. There are several different ways you can play. You can play at 120 hertz. You can play with ray tracing on, and it's ray trace shadows, and you can play it with it off. And all that seems to be working fine on the PS5. I don't know what is going on with the Series X, but it crashed on me like twice. And I'm just having these really surprising odd problems. My whole goal was like, I'll show everybody the Xbox is great. It's really great. And I'm like, oh no, like I'm having all these problems and encountering all these issues. And I don't know what's going on. Something's up with the Xbox version. Phil Spencer, I think we reported on this, Dorno. Phil Spencer said something along the lines of API access was given later than for the PlayStation 5. And that's largely where a lot of these issues are being credited with cropping up. And yeah, I don't know, man. It's weird. I don't know why it's performing the way it does. And I have to do more testing before I say anything concretely. But my experience has been bad.
But then, so I'm curious to hear if Sydney has ran into any issues since she's been playing on Series X.
Yeah. To be honest though, I kind of chalked it up to Call of Duty. Because most of the issues that I'm having is like a lot of tearing and just like rubber banding. And unfortunately, I feel like that's kind of par for the course when you're playing Call of Duty.
Did it crash?
Yes, but I had the issue where I had the older version of like the previous gen version of Call of Duty downloaded on my Series X, and once I did the like take it off, re-download thing, it hasn't crashed. But I am experiencing a ton of tearing, like so much. It's very irritating. But I didn't really think much of it. I thought it was just kind of like, well, I'll just restart and hopefully it'll fix it.
I'll say this for the game: both consoles handle the way that what frame rate you play at and everything. Like, it's absolutely bizarre. On the PlayStation, you don't go into your video settings; you go into your game-specific settings, and then you set it to performance versus fidelity, which is the terminology they use for frame rate versus 4K 60 visual fidelity. And it's just weird. Like, it's so convoluted to just turn on 120 hertz, or then if you want ray tracing, you got to go back through all of that and change it on the system side. And then when you boot the game will be like, oh, this player wants to play at 4K 60 and not 4K 120. And then it changes everything again. It's not intuitive. And I hope that as both consoles, get further into the generation, they sort of address that. Xbox is a little bit better, but I feel like within the game Call of Duty, you should be able to switch it from 120 to 60, like in the game, the way you do in Gears. It's really weird.
Well, I think Justin's going to be doing some more investigating into how some of these third-party games are performing on both PS5 and Xbox Series X. So please be excited for that. Jonathan, what were you playing over the long weekend?
I was not playing Call of Duty. I was playing quite a bit of Assassin's Creed Valhalla. Finally started getting into that, and also just a ton of Demon Souls. I think that's both of those, and then trying to max out the Battle Pass for Fortnite before the Galactus event tomorrow, just so I could get all my Marvel characters and have them forever.
I always forget that you play a lot of Fortnite.
Yeah. It's been a little bit more like in waves. Like I'll play for like a week or two straight and then dip out for a couple weeks and then go back in. But especially with it being a Marvel season, and I adore Marvel characters, I kind of wanted to make sure I had them in my my locker for the rest of time.
Yeah.
Dorno, are you good at Fortnite?
Nah, I wouldn't say so. It depends. Honestly, so the way I play duos pretty consistently with my girlfriend, and the way the matches go is if I listen to her, we make it to top 5 easy every match. If I don't listen to her, it's like 50-50 if we make it. So, and then victories pretty much come down to whether or not we're facing off with builders. If it's builders, I can't win. I'm just not good at building. But if it's not, I stand a decent chance, I would say.
Have you gotten a victory?
Oh yeah, of course.
I've solo victory.
A solo, a couple. Yeah, I think
all right.
not many,
Not
but
bad.
I think maybe I want to say 2, probably tops. But duos, we've gotten at least a dozen. I want to say. I honestly don't know where it's at, but we've done decently well there. But yeah, it's definitely not. I'm not pulling out wins every match. It's not happening. But yeah.
Excuse my Fortnite ignorance. Is duos like a separate mode unto itself?
So you can play solos, duos, or squads. So duos were able to play split screen on Fortnite. So yeah.
Cool. Okay, and what do you think about Assassin's Creed Valhalla?
Oh, I'm loving it. That game is just so pretty. I think 16 hours in, and I like you because I remember you had mentioned it, so it's sort of stuck in my head of how long it took you to get to the opening credits. I think I was about 6, or the opening title screen. I think it was about 6.5 hours for me to get there. And then it's just a nice game where it's one of those things where I'm not rushing myself to get through the story and just kind of taking it at a pretty leisurely pace, like a pace. I have my settlement open now, so like I'll go out to, I'll pick like a high point to go to, and then there's a blue icon on the map, I'm going to go toward that mystery and see what it is, and I'll complete that side mission. And then I'm only 200 meters away from treasure, let me go there. And then there's an artifact, let me go there. And then if I run out of stuff, I just hop back to the settlement and then take
Upgrade
my long ship somewhere. It is really fun for just kind of getting lost. And I've been enjoying that quite a bit. Also, the side stories are so weird. I'm trying to remember my Odyssey playthrough, and there are definitely odd characters here and there, but I feel like there is a higher frequency of just bizarre side missions, which I like. It's funny and fun, but it's just there's a lot of out there stuff in the side missions, which is really interesting.
Yeah, for sure. That's also the bulk of what I've been playing. I'm up to about 25 hours now, I think. And
Nice.
I have a very similar gameplay loop to Jonathan. I'll just switch it up is after I do all that, like, finding artifacts and treasures and doing little side quest things, I'll get a little bit bored of that and I'll want to go on a story mission and push the story a little bit forward. That's all. I also play a little bit of Pikmin 3 on Switch, in which I think, I played 2 or 3 hours, and I think that's puts me about halfway through that game. That game's supposed to be pretty short, but I'm really enjoying it because I never played the original game, which was, Jonathan, correct me if I'm wrong, it was a Wii game?
It was a
Pikmin 3?
Wii U game.
Wii U game, okay.
Yeah, 2013, I want to say. Could be wrong.
Yeah, yeah, I missed it the first time around, so been digging that on the Switch. And finally, Destin, what have you been playing over the weekend?
Call of Duty. Yeah, I played through the campaign on PS5 and on Xbox Series X, and then I'm just totally baffled by why it's running so poorly, and I'm trying to figure out what's going on. My first assumption is always I have done something wrong, or there's something in my setup causing these issues. So you like do a reinstall, you check everything, and it just runs bad. I think it just runs bad.
You're so patient. I feel like what usually happens with me, I'm like, oh, it's not running well. I'll just keep going. Just like truck through.
Yeah.
Wait, so Destin, you really spent all weekend playing Call of Duty?
I mean, I played Destiny also, of course.
Of course.
Yeah. But no, I didn't play Destiny for like a week, and then I've been working on this Call of Duty thing, and you have to play through the campaign twice, and then you have to jump around in the campaign to get the capture that you need, and then you have to capture each thing 3 times. It's this tedious, laborious process. So yeah, it's just a lot.
Okay, well, speaking of Assassin's Creed Valhalla, that's not the only big Ubisoft open world game out this fall and holiday season. There are 3 of them this year. There's also Watch Dogs Legion, and then there's Immortals Fenyx Rising, the very ill-named Immortals Fenyx Rising, formerly known as Gods and Monsters. I think people like that a little bit, lot more easier to remember how to say and spell. But I think that got a 7 from IGN today. Who reviewed that one?
Cam.
Cam did, down in IGN Australia, and then I think that's the same score that we gave Watch Dogs Legion, actually, from Dan Stapleton. I think they both got 7s out of 10s, goods out of 10s. I think the elevator. What's that?
We gave it an 8. Watch Dogs.
Which one? Watch Dogs. Oh,
yeah.
Forgive me.
Okay.
So okay. Anyway, Immortals Fenyx Rising, 7 out of 10 from IGN. Or Cam basically said it's like an enjoyable Breath of the Wild but he thought the puzzles were a little bit too easy, too simplistic. So my question to my panelists is, Jonathan, let's start with you. You're playing Assassin's Creed Valhalla. I think you enjoyed Breath of the Wild. Do you plan to play Immortals Fenyx Rising?
Well, it may shock you to hear I never finished Breath of the Wild. So I want to go back to it, but I was not as enamored as everyone else was. And I feel bad about that because I feel like I should, because I typically love Zelda games. So maybe just wasn't the right time. But anyway, I am still very excited to play this. I love Greek myth. I like the tone that they're going for, especially after Assassin's Creed Odyssey's approach to Greek myth was a bit more serious mannered because it has to tie into all the Assassin's lore. This seems to be much more like tongue-in-cheek humor to it. And so I'm totally down for something that takes that mythology and blends it in that way. It's definitely a little disappointing to hear that the puzzles aren't as exciting as the rest of the world is, but I'm definitely still going to take a chance and see what this world is like to explore, because I'm really excited about that.
Now, Sydney, I know you don't always get into open world games.
True.
But there have been some exceptions, right?
Yeah, there have. However, this is not going to be one for me. I just don't care for Greek mythology. And the last 3 or 4 years has been a really hard time as someone who loves video games to just not care about that.
What? Have there been a lot of games in that setting? I'm trying to think of others.
I feel
there's
Assassin's
Creed.
There's a big one, Assassin's Creed, Hades, even God of War was a stretch for me. I'll still play them and I'm open to it, but it's not something that hooks me. And with Cyberpunk coming out around the same time, and
Yeah.
it being December, like I just don't see myself making time for this game. But it's no fault of the game. It's just there's
Sure.
other things that kind of fit my interests better.
Sure. And Destin, how about you?
If I had the time, of course, I would check it out. Immortals Fenyx Rising, it's an interesting premise. A lot of people compare it to Breath of the Wild. A lot of, other sites have given it a good score. But as I get older, I have less time. So I have to be more considerate with the games that I choose to play. And I'm choosing to play Cyberpunk for the rest of my life. So I'm going to be playing Cyberpunk 2077 ad nauseum. In all seriousness, though, I also make a very careful choice about the games that I play because I find it more interesting to sort of dive into the technical aspects, especially with the next generation of consoles and everything. People are loving those performance analysis things that I've been doing. And I really want to, finish the Black Ops 1, potentially move on to Cyberpunk when, all the platforms are available for that, and have conversations and inform the audience about like what's working, what's not with that game. And I've really enjoyed that. So I think that means I will have to trade off being able to play a game like Immortals Fenyx Rising, not because it's bad or anything like that, but it's just a time thing.
Sure. I think for myself, I'll definitely check it out. I enjoy the Ubisoft open world formula, and I really liked Breath of the Wild. As long as it gives me like a sense of exploration, like I'm exploring a world, that is usually enough for me, even if the puzzles end up being on the little bit the easy side. Let's go over some quick news updates from today. Man, Jonathan, people are really annoyed by all the scalpers buying up PS5 stock, and now they're annoyed with people selling basically trying to scam people into buying photos of a PlayStation 5 on eBay. Something that eBay is aware of and apparently concerned about. But Jonathan, break this down for us. This is when people post a listing for a PlayStation 5 on eBay, and then at the very end of the long headline, it says like photograph, right?
Yeah, it's a total attempt to dupe people who aren't paying attention or who aren't reading the fine print or basically understanding the terms of service of eBay and the loopholes that people find in them. So essentially they'll put photo at the end of the headline for a listing, and they'll put it in the copy and mention the words photo or photograph or things like that, but they will make it seem in all other ways like you are bidding or buying on a PlayStation 5. And it is not that, because they are showing a photo. It is listed as a photo. But if you're just glancing and you're desperately hoping to maybe buy a PS5 for a family member or a kid or a friend or just for yourself, and you see that, you may not be thinking about the word photo in parentheses at the end. Maybe you're like, oh, it's just a photo to show me what the PS5 looks like. But no, it's just a photo. And so eBay has said they're looking into removing all these listings. It is an unfortunate, terrible loophole. And I would just caution anyone who is looking at eBay to buy a PS5 to please read all of the words that are put in the listing.
Read all of the words. Yeah, this isn't a new practice, but demand for PS5 has been so high that some shady characters are trying to capitalize on that. Sydney, what do you think about obviously? I mean, I think most of us and most of our audience would think this is a pretty gross tactic these sellers are attempting. But what responsibility do you think falls on the buyer to educate
That's
themselves?
An interesting question. I mean, obviously people shouldn't be doing this. Like that's just like blanket statement. It's just, what are you trying to accomplish? Like clearly when you're setting out to do this, there's nobody who genuinely wants to sell a photograph of their PS5 and just is doing this and hoping somebody will buy it. That's not what's happening. But I will say, as a buyer, I mean, I think anytime you're doing anything resale or you're buying like from a third party, it is important to do your due diligence. Like, not to toot my own horn, but one of my first jobs was selling things on eBay for a local small business.
Wow.
So you want to make sure that you are buying from people with a like little star rating of like 95. I mean, I don't go under 98 unless I'm really into whatever it is I'm buying and I'm like okay with risking it. But you want to like check their rating and make sure that it's legit. And if they're really great, it'll have like 100 with a little star. And yeah, just do your due diligence, make sure you're not getting scammed. And in the words of my mother, if it's too good to be true, it probably is. So
I think probably wise words. But then, Jonathan, what's unclear to me, you said eBay's looking into taking down these listings. Apparently, eBay's statement says that buyers who receive an item which is not as described are entitled to a refund. But I don't know what that means in this case, because I think technically a photograph is what's being described, right?
Yeah, it's hard, and it's one of those crappy things where, because their terms and their like user agreements are probably vague enough to allow these things obviously on the platform, it's probably going to be a case-by-case basis where they're going to have to drill down. Like, it's very obvious people are getting scammed. Like Sydney was saying, no one is probably going on to eBay being like, man, I want a photo of a PS5. Where can I find one? That is not what's happening. And so technically, probably it's safe to assume everyone who's bought one of these has probably been scammed. But I don't know what the legalese, I guess, around if the description is precise enough about it being a photo. I guess eBay likely may not rescind those purchases or refund those purchases. It's probably going to come down to like the very specific wording, which is unfortunate. That would be my guess, reading into sort of their statements on everything.
Yeah, unfortunate is a good way to describe it. Destin, where do you come down on this?
Read the auction. Don't buy photos. I don't know. I'm glad eBay is cracking down on that. This isn't new. This has been going on since I started my eBay account 20 years ago. I don't know.
Are you selling photos of a PS5, Destin?
No. But like, it's been going on since eBay's inception. The fact that eBay has finally commented on it and is doing something about it is good. But at the same time, it's just kind of like, just be careful, read. You're making a major investment when you're buying a next-gen console. Like, do your due diligence, take 2 seconds and make sure you're not buying a photo.
Are these? Oh yeah, go ahead, Sydney.
Well, as I say, I'm surprised that now they're saying it about the photos, because I feel like before I've seen people trying to sell boxes.
Yep.
What, just empty boxes, or?
Well, so they'll show like a photo of like a PS5 box, for example, or like a PS4 box, and be like, same sort of thing. The full description at the end, it'll say box. Yeah. But to echo Destin, it's something that I've seen for a really long time. So it's just really interesting that they're choosing to say something now, even though I think it's great that they are.
Yeah.
I know Austin's mad at me. He's saying that it's not an appropriate response because we're in a pandemic. I mean, at some point you have to put responsibility on the consumer, and eBay also has a policy. Like, if you're not happy with the auction, you can just dispute the auction and then nobody pays anything. Like, once you realize you got scammed, you go through the process and eBay will refund you. I'm glad that eBay is finally doing something about these photos, but at the same time, like, if it's not misleading, like, to me, I always just thought of it as a joke. I've never accidentally bought a photo personally. I feel bad for people that have. It's just such a weird situation, right? There's auctions out there that are of photos. There's people that make like things that look like PlayStations and they sell them on eBay, but it's been going on for like 20 years. So I think it's positive that eBay is finally stepping in and saying, hey, we're going to do something about these. We're not going to have them anymore. I think that's positive. At the same time, like, when you're making a major investment in anything, like if you're buying a house, for example, you're going to have it inspected, right? I think taking 60 seconds to make sure you read before you put a $500 or you're going for like $1,000, right, Dorno? For $1,000 bid in.
I think some have gone up, yeah.
You would probably make sure. Now, there is a larger conversation, Austin, to sort of elaborate on your point. And I'm glad you brought it up. Like, thank you for calling me on this. But I do think that there's a bigger conversation about the scalping issue. That's a problem. So these are two conversations, right? There's a conversation about the jokesters or jerks or whatever you want to call them, who are posting photos of consoles. But then there's the scalping issue, like that firm that has like thousands of consoles.
3,500.
That is 3,500. That's messed up. And that is a different issue, though. So I'm sort of conversing about consumer responsibility, glad eBay is stepping in. And there's this whole separate thing we haven't even discussed about the 3,500 consoles that have been scalped. And this one firm is just like, yeah, we did it. Deal with it. That's gross.
I will say, to go back to the consumer responsibility, and I do agree that, like, to a certain extent, consumers, you need to look out for yourself. But I think of like my mom, for example. If my mom was trying to buy my brother a PlayStation 5 for Christmas, she would see it and be like, I don't understand. Why does it say photo? Like, I don't know. Like, but it looks real. Like, why would they do that? And I could totally see her reasoning herself out of the fact that it does say photo, if that makes sense. Like, I just think of like people who maybe aren't on the internet as much and how easy it would be to be scammed by that.
That's a really good point, Sid. Like I could see my mom not understanding something like that also. So that's problematic. And that's an additional reason why it's extra great that eBay has finally done something. I don't know why it took 20 years for them to do something. It's been going on forever.
I
It's
mean,
just
I'm
interesting
sure people are going to still be selling photos of concert tickets when concerts come back and are a thing again on eBay. But yeah, it is one of those things where like it would be great if eBay just was able to hire people to proactively look out for scam posts and be able to take those down so that no one could get scammed. I do think there are many layers to discuss about like the responsibilities that could be taking part here for sure.
Yeah, when Cindy, the scenario that Cindy describes definitely sounds like it should be easy enough for eBay to just refund. You know, if the transaction is happening through the eBay platform, refund the money, cancel the account of the seller. You know, it's that eBay I think is doing okay for itself. I think they can. I think they can handle canceling a few. I don't even know how many dozens, hundreds of fake PS5 photos transactions. But anyway. That's about going to do it for us on this Monday edition of News, Games, and More. A little bit shorter edition, but it was a slower news day, so everything works out just fine. And everybody can go on and play games this evening. I'm going to play some more Assassin's Creed Valhalla. Thanks for hanging out with us this afternoon. We're here at the same time, Monday through Friday, right here on IGN's YouTube channel, talking about the news of the day with all of our friends here at IGN. So we'll see you guys tomorrow. Everybody have a great evening.